Hi, I'm JJ, otherwise known as the Practical Alchemist. Thank you so much for joining me today. A day where I want to talk to you about alternatives to being stuck to our mobile phones, our cell phones, our digital devices non-stop, and how that might affect us. And I'm bringing you an interview that I did for my radio show, Alchemy 101 on UK Health Radio a while back. I'll leave the link to that in the description if you prefer to listen. But I thought that it would be a great subject for today with this channel, because we're looking at alternatives to just being constantly on our digital devices, not talking about digital detox per se, but how we can manage that better. And Gabriel Pitt is a digital well-being specialist, and he wrote this book, Be Present: Why It's Time to Control Your Digital Habits. And it's a really interesting book, as I go into in the interview. Now, I talk about a previous interview that I'd done with a brain health specialist, Professor James Goodwin, and where we talked about whether the digital age has really impacted our brains or not. And I'll leave the link to that radio show as well, where we talk about that, in the description. But it's very interesting what Gabriel has to say about how we don't have to give up digital, because that's the age we live in, but how we can better manage it so that we can have a better life. So if you like this kind of content, please do subscribe, share, all of those things, like the video as well, and leave a comment. Let me know. But for now, let me just put you onto the interview with me and Gabriel Pitt, digital wellbeing specialist from Switzerland. Gabriel, I have your book with me here, and the first page says this book is a unique transmedia object that you're invited to make your own. I love the fact that you use QR codes all the way through the book, almost as a sort of, digital media, it's still okay, but we just have to watch what we do with it. So you say that you can enhance your reading experience to listen to playlists of music and sounds, especially for you. You find them on this particular QR code. And you say, for the optimal and most comfortable experience, I recommend that you discover this book in your living room and avoid reading it in your bedroom.
Exactly.
Yep,
Exactly.
absolutely. Absolutely. So this is one of the issues, isn't it, with digital habits, modern digital habits, that it does impinge upon our sleep and our rest. So this is one of the things that you touch on in the book, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Thank you for having me with you today, and really happy about talking
Yeah,
this
you're
topic.
welcome.
Yeah, the idea with the book is that I encourage good habits reading the book, and as a transmedia object, you're right, there are QR code in the entire book, and the idea is to enrich the content and to as well show that technology has positive aspects or
Yeah.
benefits. And that was the initial idea with the QR code. And the second one is about the recommendation to read it in the living room, is that I don't want to encourage people to use their smartphone in their bed, because
Yes.
this is one of the topic in the book, that sleep is very important. If you don't sleep well, then it has a lot of impact on your humor, your capacity to take decisions, your willingness to do sports, and so on. So you have plenty of impact. And of course, I wanted to protect people's sleep with this advice I give at the beginning. And yeah, I don't know in UK, but in my country, there was a report like last week saying that 1 out of 3 people suffer from insomnia in our country. So it's huge. So I don't think there are studies right now saying that it's because of the screens exclusively, but most probably the fact that you are in your bed looking at your smartphone reduce the time you sleep and the quality of sleep.
Yeah, it is really important, and it's something that I've had to address in my own life. I've stopped using any devices a long time before I go to bed. And
Mm-hmm.
I've started reading an actual book, not one with QR codes in it, but an actual book to allow myself to recover from the blue light in devices. And, just watching screens, it's a completely different focus, literally, for your eyes, and a different way for your brain to work, and it's very relaxing. I'm one of those people who can read about 3 pages of a book and then fall fast asleep. So I do try to read a little bit before I get to bed, and then when I'm in bed, I can put the light out and get a decent night's sleep, and it really works.
I'm happy that you are sharing your own experience with your sleeping habits and devices habits before sleep. There are some recommendations around that, saying that before going to sleep, you need to not watch any screen 1 or 2 hours before that. So
Yeah.
I think the people who are watching and listening us today, they need to take advantages of your experiences and to apply it in their own life, because this is really helping to have a better sleep quality. And you mentioned the blue light. Of course, the blue light has an impact on melatonin because it stops the effect of melatonin that trigger the need of sleep and the quality of sleep. And for that, I give you one easy tip as well that you can apply in your life. It's you can start to activate the night shift on your smartphone, and it changed the light of the smartphone, meaning it cut the blue light in it, and the screen is becoming like orange, and this help as well to not cut the melatonin effect. So even if you are looking at your devices earlier than when you are going to read, then I can encourage you to as well activate the night shift. And with regard readings, your point is so true and so valid, because if you are reading on a paper, it has nothing to do with reading on screen. And the other point is that when you are on your book, you don't have hyperlink where to click that
Yes.
that give
Yeah.
you that give you more the envy, to discover something more, because we as human, we are curious and we love to discover things, new things. And of course, hyperlink encourages us as well to continue our discovery of new information, new entertainment, pleasure, and so on. So with the book, there is no option to move forward, discover new things. You are in your story if you are depending on what you are reading, but you are focused on your story. And of course, reading on a paper or on a screen, it's a total different story.
Yeah, that's true. And it's interesting. I was speaking with Professor Goodwin recently,
Yeah.
and he was talking about how the brain has changed because of our digital habits. We now have
Mhm.
a digital brain. We're living in a digital age, and younger people are digital natives, and their brains are slightly different now. There is a question as to whether that's good or bad. It seems to be not particularly bad for us, and that it's more the behaviors around digital consumption that are the issues in terms of our health and well-being. Um, Now, I grew up in a time where we didn't have anything like that. We had television and radio and a
Yes.
landline phone. And when I first became a journalist, I well, this was a good few years ago in the 70s, and we had typewriters that we wrote on with carbon paper in between sheets of paper to create copies of what we wrote that went to the news desk and the sub editors for them to mark up to go to the printers. Nothing was digital in those days. It was
Yes.
hot metal printing in newspapers and magazines, all very old school. And then when we went out as reporters into the community to find our stories or report on what was going on, we used to go to the bank first and get a bag full of coins for the public telephones so that we could call in every hour or so to find out what was happening and what our next assignment would be. Now, I look back on those days and think that is so we've come so far in my lifetime, but we didn't die because we didn't have mobile phones. We still got the job done. We still disseminated information. And it seems to me that we're overloaded now with information and overloaded with all these different channels.
Yeah. Again, that's very interesting what you are saying, and true, because what I try to avoid all the time is saying it was better at our age because it's different, you know. And I have been in contact with younger people as well during workshops and so on, and I had the chance to participate to birthday parties and to be in touch with this generation 15, 20. And what is really not different compared to us is they are looking for living, you know. They want to explore the world, and they are full of energy and vitality and so on. So this is the same. Like when we were 18 years old, we wanted to explore and to live our life to the fullest.
Yeah.
So this is not different. The difference now is that their the way they explore the world has changed, and of course they could have two impacts in my view. The first one is mental, and the second one is physical, because when you spend time on screen, and if you look at the different time spent on screen between the different ages, like the boomers, the Gen Z, the Y, the X, and Alpha, and so on, of course, the amount of time spent on smartphone or devices increased for the younger generation. And the point here is that it's not about what you do on your devices and time you spend. It's not what you are not doing being on it. You know what I mean? So it means that at our age, most probably we were outside playing, you know, in the nature or doing anything outside. And now they are less outside and doing physical things. So that could be one of the impacts. The second one is mentally as well. If you spend too much time like being on your devices and communicating through your devices and not communicating in real life outside, then it's changing the social perception and the social capabilities. And I had some feedback about that the communication for younger people is not the same as ours, because if you are used to communicate via messages, then of course it's more difficult to communicate in real life. So these two aspects are really important because what we need to think about is, do we want them to spend time on screen that is bringing them added value in their life and helping them to develop themselves in the right way, or is all this time not really benefiting for them? And that's the key question. And then once you answer the question, you need to make a call. Okay, maybe we need to find a balance, because it's again a question of balance. It's not I spend time on my screen or I don't spend time on my screen. It's more, okay, and I'm always encouraging people for that, especially with the younger people, you know, like if you have 1 hour and you can, how do you use this hour? You can either spend 1 hour on your screen passively consuming content, you can not be on the screen at all and being outside, or you can be 20 minutes on the screen, like watching a cooking recipe, and then you cook for 40 minutes. And for me, this is the balanced approach, because you take advantage of the technology, but then you do something in real life. And for me, this is how to have a balanced approach to make sure younger generation, but we as well, can benefit from both worlds, you know, not only fully digital, not being only in nature and doing meditation all the time, but really finding the best way in between that help us to take all the advantages that life has to offer us.
Yeah, and I guess the difficulty though is that social media, for instance, digital media generally can be very addictive, because we do get that fear of missing out, the FOMO, where we think, well, if we're not checking our socials who's commented on my latest post, how many follows do I have, who's emailing me now, all these things, they're very, very addictive, but it's almost like they are subverting our mental state into sort of constantly needing to get this dopamine hit from our connection online, which is not really the same as connection person to person. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. The digital devices and social media provide us with rewards, uh, and it has different aspects. But speaking about addiction, I investigate, and the scientific environment and world is now um, yeah, searching if it is really an addiction or not. There are some debates right now that are starting, because it seems that if you have an addiction, it's when you don't have your smartphone. I make it simple, huh? When you don't
Mm-hmm.
have access to something, which is the same case for any other addiction, you start to have a really bad behavior. You lose the control over your peers, your friend, your family, because you need to have to get access to what you are addicted to. So the point is that if now we remove smartphone to 100% of smartphone owner, there might not be a big drama, you know what I mean? Like people getting crazy because they need the smartphone. And there are some studies now showing that a little proportion of people are addicted, sorry. And it seems that one study said it's the same, the percentage, and unfortunately for them, is the same percentage for other addiction. So the figures that it's starting, to be explored. The figures, it's between 1 to 3% of the population. And I saw another study saying that for the younger generation was between 5 and 7%. But again, it's really now starting to be explored. And that's why I'm speaking about habits, because you can change your habits when you are not addict. And if you are addict, you need to
Yeah.
go to a doctor or a psychologist, and changing your habits won't be effective. So that's why I wanted to speak about these differences, and I believe this is really important, because back to social media and the other, you can change your habits, and being able to manage that. But it's a process that doesn't last 1 or 2 days. It's like for any habits that you want to change, it should last for a couple of weeks or months, depending on your willingness, on how much effort you put in changing your habits, how is the environment, do you have support? But this is feasible. I had a young client, 24 years old. He was 8 hours a day on his smartphone, and then he went to 1.5 hour. We spent
Wow.
40. It was we spent 14 weeks together to make sure he can be in control. But that implies different. It's not just deleting one app and it's done.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not the right path, because otherwise you are frustrated. So it's learning slowly but surely how to better manage your habits and your smartphone and your devices. And then instead of not being controlled by the devices, say it's control it. And at the end of I take this example again. At the end, this guy told me, I feel free.
Yeah, yeah, that's really very interesting, actually. It's a good point as well. The difference between an addiction and just a very ingrained habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you can very easily change well, easily, it takes time, as we know, to change a habit. So, when I go out of the house and I've forgotten my smartphone, I kind of go, oh no, and I panic for a moment, but then
Mm-hmm.
I get over it and think, well, what does it matter? As long as I know that I have forgotten it and not lost it somewhere, that it
Mm-hmm.
is at home. Um, but you do get that panic when you're without it for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I give an exercise to my clients about that, because of course, if you are used to have your smartphone all the time and tomorrow you forget it, you will have this panic moment.
Yeah.
But one of the explanation I found about that is that um, now we are used to have everything accessible in one click in our pocket.
Yes, yes,
So we are no
exactly.
more used to plan in advance because we know if there is something happening, I just grab my smartphone and I can solve the problem. So one of the advice I give my clients, because I don't ask them to, this is an exercise I give my client. Now you plan a day without your smartphone. But this day most probably will be a Saturday, where there is no work
Yeah, yeah,
expectations or tasks to do. And then you plan in advance your day fully without any things that are not planned. And then you do your Saturday like, okay, I go shopping 10 o'clock. 12 o'clock, I have a lunch planned with Pauline, okay, and 2 o'clock, I have a coffee or tea time. It's tea time for you. I have tea time at 4 o'clock there. And then you try to do it several times. And then you can slowly but surely, as I said, it's not a process that you start day one and then you can change everything. This exercise is more at the end of the training I
yeah,
offer, but
yeah.
it's more than slowly but surely you are able to recover your control capabilities over technology. And then people are doing that. Oh, yes, it's feasible. It's feasible and nothing happens. But
Yeah, no, nobody dies. And that's how we used to live. We used to make an arrangement to meet somebody, and we would get there on time, hopefully. And there were no issues. You arranged everything in advance. You maybe met somebody the day before, or you called somebody on a landline the day before and said, okay, I will meet you for lunch at 12 o'clock.
voilà.
And that was it.
Exactly, exactly. And it was working.
It
And
worked.
it
Yeah.
and it could still work, because me, I'm laughing when I have a meeting or an appointment with someone, I'm there and usually I don't have my smartphone because what could happen? Okay. If people are earlier, 5 minutes, okay, they're early. If I'm late, I can be late 5 minutes, okay. But almost all the time, you have a message saying, I'm late, I will be there in 5 minutes. And then you answer, okay, I'm there already. And then you start to think, was it useful? Yes, no. No, I'm there.
No.
What will happen? I'm there. And if
Yeah.
I'm late, I'm a little bit late. And that's it. But now
Yeah.
we are in this immediacy mode, let's say, that you need to say, yes, I will be late. But I'm there. Huh? I'm just waiting for you.
Yeah, yeah, it is this immediacy, this need for everything to be immediate.
Mhm.
Everything in our lives now has to be immediate, or else we don't have the patience. And I think,
Exactly.
and that's one of
Exactly.
the things that I notice is that lack of patience with people.
I think I think technology or the pace of technology triggered impatience in our life. And because people as well do not realize that, but we are impatient most probably because of technology. And on the other hand side, when people are answering me emails like 1 or 2 days after my mail, I receive so many times, sorry for the delay. And I'm there, but there is no delay, 2 days, that's fine. Nothing, And I receive so many times in the emails, apologize for being so late, but it was 2 days. Because,
I'm honestly, I've been guilty of that myself. I've done that myself. Not got back to somebody immediately and then apologized. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But the truth is that, and this is based on our perception. Now we are in this immediacy world. Everything should be now and now. And we have lost a bit the ability, this matrix, emergency or urgency, important, urgent, important.
Yeah.
And if it's urgent, important, I focus on that. But the rest, there are 3 other options, delegate, do not treat, and so on.
Mhm.
This matrix, it's Eisenhower, the name of the matrix. I think it's no more used. It's obsolete today. It's no
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, if you have something really urgent, then you just do a call. You grab the smartphone. Somebody see missed call. It might be urgent. But otherwise, we don't have the we don't have the message app engraved in our hands, ready to type. And yeah, sometimes I see that in many situations you can now discuss this topic about immediacy in many situations in our life. And again, the idea of changing your digital habits is being able to say, it's not saying I don't need to answer fast or I need to answer very fast, is when do I need to be very fast and when can I be slower, you know?
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's
It's
that discernment,
yeah,
and we've
it's again
lost
balanced.
that. Yeah, that
It's again
balance.
balanced, you know? It's not everything should be answered right now. It's this is a very urgent importance, so I need to answer right now, but this is not urgent importance, so I can wait and I put that uh, reply later.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, and just getting back to these sort of human interactions and how things were done at one point, when I was growing up, and I think when you were growing up, it was very easy to arrange for kids to get together because you just went to the playground and there was always somebody there.
Yeah.
You didn't have to make an arrangement. You didn't have to call your friend on their smartphone or text them and say, I am going to be there whenever.
Mhm.
It just was a given. Kids just went out to play.
Exactly, exactly. And I think here, because I had different talk as well with younger, like 10, 12 years old children, and I think it's not, again, it's not different from our age. The need is starting to be together with your friend and communicating, but we did it as you describe it, meaning there is a place we go there and we play together and we communicate and we work together. But now that it's no more as easy as it was, the devices has replaced these talks. And now it means that instead of going somewhere to talk and to congregate and exchange with others, then you use your device. But
Mm.
exchanging through a messaging app, and we said that before, it's not at all the same um, feeling experience than exchanging in real life. Like, you know, now we are exchanging through screens, so it's 2 dimension. Of course, it has nothing to do when we will meet in real life together in 3 dimensions and just see, you know, we see our shoulders and our face, seeing the full body. It's a totally different experience. And that's why the need of communicating and meeting some friends remain the same, but now it's no more the same mean to do it. And that's why if people are listening to us for their kids, like age 10 to 15, what I encourage really is not doing messages or doing a bit, but if you feel that the conversation will be like, but just give a call or do a video call, you know,
Mm.
because then with the voice, just having the voice involved in the exchange process is totally different than just typing or reading. And
Yeah.
of course, now there are the vocals,
Mm-hmm.
but I really encourage people to call, to do video, or what I'm encouraging as well is to meet,
Yes. Oh,
to
yeah.
go outside.
Strange. Mm.
Yeah, go outside and meet.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is all about balance. What's your feeling about giving children smartphones? Because there's been a lot of kickback against children in schools having smartphones these
Yeah.
days. What's your feeling about that?
I think that I can draw a very simple conclusion. We, as adults, we struggle with smartphone. So how could children um, deal with that technology
Yeah.
if we are not able to deal with that? So this is my first conclusion. And then for me, the challenge, the real challenge, because I have children myself, and there is this social pressure like we had when I was young. People wanted to have some sneakers, you know, like branded sneakers, and some do not have them. And you wanted to have the sneakers because you are cool if you have the sneakers. If you don't, you are not cool. And this is the same with the smartphone right now.
Mm.
And you have this
Yeah.
social pressure to get to that. And we didn't touch base the overstimulation, but I think one critical point now in our society is hyperstimulation, meaning that if we are all the time stimulated, which is the case with the technology everywhere that surround us, then you miss, or you are no more able to have no stimulation, you know. On one hand side, you have stimulation, and the other side, you have contemplation. And I think now it's very difficult for people to be in contemplation mode, because we are more in this overstimulation mode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for children, for me, the current challenge right now is to allow them to not be overstimulated with technology.
Yeah.
For me, that's really the critical point. It's to make sure they have the control over technology, meaning I can send some messages left and right, being in contact to communicate, voila, with this age. And there was a study in Australia with 17,000 young people, and their recommendation was like giving the first smartphone to girls at 13 years old, and for boys it was 15 years old.
15. Wow.
15, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So that was one study based in
Yeah.
made in Australia. 17,000 people. That's quite a big amount of people. I'm always, you know, with studies, you really need to have more and more studies that say that. But that was one I recall about children. Yeah, and yeah, and
That's quite an age though. And of course, our brains are still forming at that age. So I can understand why they would maybe recommend that. But as you're saying, it's about behavior rather than the actual physical changes to our brains. And you've given us some great tips on how to modify how we deal with the digital age and how we can modify our behavior in that scenario. Is there any, you know, you've given us a couple of things. Is there any one key message that you would give to help us just become less less tied to our digital devices and become much more engaged with, I was going to say real life, but you know, I don't mean real life, because the
yeah,
digital age is real life, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. I think I have one simple tip, because again, I developed this methodology called Master Your Digital Habits, and I don't have any algorithm apps or any AI. For me,
Yeah.
it's about common sense. Well,
Yeah.
all my advice are about common sense. Of course, I have two or three tips on the devices and so on. But for me, the real success is when you can yourself be back in control. And what I will give you and the audience as a tip, it's that I said before, you know, the only fact that you see your smartphone reduce your cognitive capacity, but as well trigger in you the envy to check what is happening. So first of all, you need to make sure your smartphone is not in, you cannot see your smartphone.
Mm.
And I can do a comparison. If you love chocolate, you know, me, I loved chocolate, but in the past, if I now have chocolate in my kitchen, I will eat all the chocolate. So the solution is that I don't have chocolate. So I don't eat chocolate anymore. Because if I have chocolate there, I will eat the chocolate. Full stop. No debate. I love it. I know I love it. So I don't purchase chocolate anymore. Simple as that. And the second point is that this is a bit different versus chocolate, because if you don't have your smartphone, but you are used to, I take an example, 8 p.m., you have had your dinner, and now usually at 8 p.m. you grab your smartphone and you spend 1 hour scrolling. Even if you don't have your smartphone visible at that time, what are you going to do? If the three last year, every day at 8 o'clock, you was on your smartphone at home in your sofa and checking it. And now tomorrow I tell you, ah, bah no, you don't need to see it and it's done. No, it's not working, you know, because you are used every day at the same time to be 1 hour on your smartphone scrolling. So you need to find an activity that help you to not be frustrated. So if you like to draw, you draw. If you like to paint, you paint. If you like to play cards, you play cards. If you like to do anything, play guitar, piano, whatever you like, you do it instead of spending time on the smartphone.
I think that's a brilliant piece of advice there. And I'm like you, not with chocolate so much. I'm not that keen on chocolate, except I do like white chocolate, which to chocolate connoisseurs is an absolute anathema. But um, but I do that with biscuits. I don't buy biscuits,
I mean,
except
either.
yeah,
Yeah,
because if I have them, I
yeah,
eat them, and
yeah,
I don't want to eat them. So
yeah,
maybe one or two, but then you have to buy a packet. And then, because the packet is there, you eat it. So yeah, I don't
exactly,
buy them.
exactly. And it's difficult to not eat the packets because
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
And on the other hand side, on the other hand side, again, it's a question of balance.
Yeah.
Uh, you need my method is not about not having access to smartphone, so you need to be on.
Exactly.
If you I give you an example of something really beneficial of the smartphone. I need to get inspiration for sport. Take an example. Bah, if I go to social media, and I can control my time on social media thing, I want 10 minutes of sports inspiration, tennis, like let's say tennis. So I follow some people who are in tennis, 5 or I don't know, 10 people. And then I spend my 10 minutes on tennis, watching techniques, how to improve the technique and so on. But it's good. And then after my 10 minutes, I put my smartphone elsewhere and I do my other activity in real life that help me instead of 1 hour passively watching things that are not
Yeah,
relevant.
that makes sense. Yeah.
And again, this is a question of balance. And
Hmm.
the point is that people need to have this control.
Mm.
This is all about now being in control and being the boss towards your digital devices instead of suffering because of it.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And your book again is called Be Present. Its subtitle is Why It's Time to Control Your Digital Habits, and it really is worth getting a hold of. It's if I can show it here, there you go.
Ah, yeah, it's very clear.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's good.
And yeah, it's really worth getting a hold of because it's full of really interesting but also useful tips, but not doing down our digital age, not doing down digital media, because it's part of our lives now.
Exactly.
We have to get used to it. Even old people like me have to get used to it. But it's about how to bring about that balance, which is so sorely needed for so many people
Yeah.
who spend their entire lives just hooked almost to digital devices. So, Gabriel, thank you so much for coming onto the show and talking to us about this. I wish you all the best with the book, which, as I say, is a great resource if you're looking to find more balance in your life. So, thank you so much for that.
Thank you to you for having me.
So, there we are. I hope that you got something out of this and that you enjoyed this interview with Gabriel Pitt. I think there's a lot of sound advice in there. Some of it really surprised me. The study saying that we shouldn't be giving smartphones to boys younger than 15 was really quite an eye-opener for me. We'll see what comes of that. But I will put all of Gabriel's links in the description, and also a link to my radio show, Alchemy 101 on UK Health Radio, where I interviewed Professor James Goodwin, the brain health expert, where we talked about the effect of the digital age on our brains. So do listen to that if you're interested. For now, though, thank you so much for joining me. As ever, do like, share, all of those good things if you've enjoyed this content. But for now, have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.